The galaxy was full of whispers. Some said it was only a myth, some said it was an old human trick, but the warning was always the same. Earth is a trap, the message repeated across ancient records. The Galactic Empire heard it many times, yet they refused to listen. In the high halls of the Empire, alien commanders laughed at the idea. They believed humans were weak, a small and primitive species. Their planet was just one among billions. What danger could a single world bring to the greatest empire in the stars? The generals drank in their golden chambers, confident in their power. One of them said, "If Earth is a trap, then we are the hunters who will spring it." The others roared with laughter, but not all were so sure. Among the council sat General Ralkesh, an old veteran who had fought many wars. He had studied ancient texts and lost records of civilizations long gone. In every story he found the same word, Earth, and in every story he found the same ending, ruin. His eyes narrowed as he spoke in a low voice. Maybe the warning is not a myth. Maybe Earth hides something more than we see. But his words were drowned in mockery. The Emperor himself stood and declared, "There is no trap. There is only conquest." Far from the Empire's center, human voices whispered in secret. They knew the Empire was watching. They knew their signals were being studied, but still they sent a strange transmission into the void. It was not a plea for peace. It was not a call for help. It was a message wrapped in riddles, and at the end of the message, only 5 words were clear. "You were already warned." The alien scouts intercepted the broadcast. They played it inside their ships and laughed. "What is this nonsense?" one pilot sneered, but his navigator looked pale, for within the static of the message there was a pattern, a hidden rhythm, like the beating of a giant heart. Thus, a crew grew silent, yet they told no one, because who would believe them? In the Empire, only strength mattered, and fear was weakness. Back in the Imperial War Council, preparations for invasion began. A fleet of thousands was gathered, warships polished like blades, engines glowing with pride. The order was simple: crush Earth, enslave the humans, silence the warning forever. The Emperor stood before the fleet and raised his clawed hand. "This is not war," he shouted. "This is a hunt." The soldiers cheered, their voices filling the hangars. No one noticed that General Ralkesh remained silent, his eyes cold. He had seen too many traps before, and this one felt different. Meanwhile, on Earth the sky seemed calm. Humans went about their lives, children played, farmers worked, cities glowed with light. But beneath the ground, hidden deep under oceans and mountains, something ancient stirred. The Earth itself seemed to breathe as if it was waiting for the Empire to come. The silence of the planet was not weakness, it was patience. It was preparation. It was the stillness before the storm. In the Empire's capital, a final warning arrived, not from humans, not from machines, but from an ancient archive. A star map glowing with red symbols. At the center of the map was Earth, and around it broken empires, shattered worlds, and dead fleets. A historian cried out, "Every power that touched Earth was destroyed." The council laughed at him and cast him out. The fleet was already on its way. As the great armada of the Empire moved into the black sea of space, the warning echoed once more across the void. Earth is a trap. But the Empire refused to listen, and somewhere in the shadows of Earth's orbit, human eyes were already watching, waiting for the hunters to step into the snare. The armada stretched across the stars like a silver serpent. Thousands of warships moved in. Perfect formation, their engines burning brighter than suns. The Galactic Empire called it the March of Triumph, for in their eyes Earth was already defeated before the first shot was fired. On the command ship, Admiral Voreth stood tall, his scales gleaming under the lights. He had fought countless battles, and he never lost. He looked at the hologram of Earth spinning slowly before him. "One small blue world, and it dares to send warnings," he sneered. "By the time we are done, their skies will be filled with our banners." The crew cheered, drunk on pride, yet not all voices were loud with confidence. General Ralkesh, who had warned the council before, stood quietly in the shadows. He had seen the red star map, the ruins of fallen empires, the trails of death around Earth. He stepped forward, his voice steady. "Admiral, there is danger here. The humans may appear weak, but patterns do not lie." Voreth turned and laughed. "You are an old soldier, Ralkesh. You see ghosts in every shadow." The crew laughed with him, but the silence in Ralkesh's eyes remained. The fleet traveled for weeks, crossing wormholes and star lanes. In each port they passed, alien traders whispered behind closed doors. "They are going to Earth," one voice said, trembling. "Then they are already dead," another replied. But the Empire never listened to whispers, only to its own pride. As they neared the solar system, strange signals brushed across their sensors. It was like static, like whispers inside the comms. No clear words, only the echo of a voice. Some crew said they heard a woman crying. Others said they heard laughter. One young officer swore he heard his own name being called from the void. Fear spread quietly through the lower decks, but no one dared speak it aloud. At last, the fleet reached the edge of Earth's home system. Jupiter loomed before them like a giant guardian, its storms raging for eternity. The admiral smiled. "This will be our staging ground. From here we march to Earth." Dozens of carriers moved into orbit around the gas giant. Fighters soared out like SAS. Swarms of insects, patrolling, searching, but the sensors kept failing. Readings blinked in and out, ships appearing then vanishing from the maps. "A technical fault," Vorath declared, yet Ralkesh's face hardened. Inside the War Council chamber aboard the flagship, the leaders gathered. They spoke of Earth as if it was already theirs. Plans were made to divide the planet, to strip its oceans, to enslave its people. One commander laughed and said, "Perhaps we will leave them a small island as a reminder of their defeat." But even as they laughed, alarms suddenly flared. Dozens of screens went black for a moment, then returned. A single message appeared across every console, 5 words glowing bright. "You were already warned." The room fell silent, the laughter gone. Admiral Vorath slammed his claw against the table. "It is a trick, a human attempt to frighten us," he roared. But his voice carried less power now, because every officer in that room felt the same chill in their hearts. Meanwhile, on Earth, the planet seemed unchanged. The humans watched the skies, calm and quiet. Yet deep under the oceans, machines older than the Empire stirred awake. Lights glowed beneath the waves, hidden towers rising slowly toward the surface. In the mountains, long-buried structures trembled, their cores heating after centuries of silence. And in orbit, invisible to alien eyes, shadows moved. Human warships cloaked in silence. The trap was already being set. The Empire still believed they were hunters, but the prey was not running. The prey was waiting. And soon, the hunters would learn what kind of world Earth truly was. The Empire's fleet drifted into the inner system, their warships darkening the stars behind them. Earth hung in the distance, small and blue, fragile in appearance. To the soldiers of the Empire, it looked like an easy prey. But to the few who studied history, it looked like the eye of a storm. Admiral Vorath stood on the bridge of his flagship, his voice carried across the comms. "All ships, prepare for planetary approach." Thousands of cannons armed, fighters unfolded their wings like blades. The galaxy's might was now pointed at a single world, yet the planet remained silent. General Ralkesh watched the silence with unease. He had seen countless invasions, and never once had a target remained so calm. No distress calls, no panicked fleets, no desperate attempts to flee. Instead, Earth waited, still and patient. It was not the silence of weakness, it was the silence of something unseen. The first landing fleet prepared to descend. Transports filled with armored troops stood ready. Commanders expected humans to kneel, to beg, to break before the glory of the Empire. But when the landing ships entered the atmosphere, strange storms rose to meet them. Winds screamed at unnatural speeds. Lightning split the skies. Sensors went blind. Navigation failed. Pilots cursed as their ships spun out of control. Yet no storm had been predicted. No system had shown warning. The sky itself had turned against them. Admiral Vorath growled, "It is only weather, push through it." But Ralkesh whispered, "No storm obeys like this." From orbit, the fleet watched as dozens of transports vanished from the screens. Some burned in the atmosphere, others were swallowed by thunderclouds. The screams of soldiers filled the comms before silence returned. And then came something worse. The storm cleared for a moment. Across the clouds, the fleet saw shapes rising. Not human fighters, not simple machines, but massive constructs of metal and stone rising from oceans, climbing from mountains, bursting from hidden bunkers. Titans that had been asleep for centuries, eyes glowing like suns, their forms larger than battleships. The Empire had mocked Earth's warning. Now the warning took shape before their eyes. Panic rippled across the alien ranks. One officer shouted, "It cannot be. Humans do not possess such machines." But the machines were real, their weapons older than the Empire itself. Beams of light tore across the skies, slicing through shields as if they were paper. Entire wings of fighters vanished in a single strike. The fleet recoiled, their confidence shattered. Vorath barked orders. Counterattack, destroy them. Cannons fired, torpedoes screamed into the atmosphere, explosions ripped across Earth's surface. But the Titans did not fall. Instead, they absorbed the energy, glowing brighter, and in a voice that echoed through every comm channel, a human voice spoke, calm, cold, unshaken. "You were already warned." The message sent shivers through the crews. Some soldiers froze at their stations, others prayed in fear. Ralkesh clenched his fists. His doubts had become truth. Earth was not weak, it was a fortress, and the Empire had just stepped inside. The skies of Earth grew brighter. From the oceans rose fleets of human warships, silent and cloaked until now, their hulls black as night, their weapons glowing with unnatural fire. The trap was no longer hidden. It had begun. The skies of Earth burned with light. What began as a storm was now a battlefield. The Galactic Empire had arrived as hunters, but they now looked like prey. Their mighty warships fired in desperation, their cannons tearing holes through the atmosphere. But the planet answered back, and its answer was terrifying. From the deep oceans, towers of steel rose like mountains. Each one carried weapons that had not been seen in 1,000 years. Beams of white energy split the clouds and tore through the alien fleet. Warships that had survived dozens of wars were erased in seconds. No shields could withstand the strikes. No armor could endure the heat. The proud banners of the Empire turned to dust. Admiral Vorath stood frozen on his bridge. He had promised victory, but the truth unfolded before him like a nightmare. How can a primitive world do this?" he whispered. General Ralkesh turned slowly, his voice heavy with dread. "This is not primitive power. This is something ancient, something older than the Empire itself. And indeed, Earth's secret was not human invention alone. It was survival. For centuries, humanity had hidden, building in silence. Every mountain was a bunker, every ocean a vault, every desert a hidden fortress. They had prepared for this day, not with fear but with patience. And now their patience was ending. Across the battlefield, alien soldiers screamed into their comms. Reports flooded in. "The storm is moving against us. Unknown weapons have locked on to our cruisers. Entire squadrons are gone." The voices cut off one by one, leaving only static. Fear spread faster than fire. The hunters were trapped. On Earth's surface, cities still shined with quiet lights. The people did not panic. They watched the sky as if they had always known this would come. Children stood beside their parents on rooftops, pointing at the glowing titans in the clouds. It was not fear in their eyes, it was pride. Then the voice came again, not loud, not screaming, but calm. It filled every ship, every ear, every heart. "You were already warned." The same words, repeated, unstoppable. The Empire's soldiers trembled as if death itself had spoken. Vorath slammed his fist onto the control board. "Attack! Focus fire on their machines," he roared. Cannons fired, missiles cut through the skies, explosions shook Earth's titans. But when the smoke cleared, the titans still stood, their glowing eyes brighter, their weapons charging again. The counterattack had failed. One by one, the titans unleashed their fury. Columns of light rose from Earth and pierced the void. Imperial ships exploded like fireworks in the night. Entire fleets vanished in seconds. Vorath's confidence shattered. For the first time, his voice shook. "Retreat. Regroup the fleet." But retreat was no longer an option. As the fleet turned, the stars around them flickered. Then, ships appeared. Human warships cloaked in darkness. They had been waiting in the shadows, hidden in orbit and beyond the moon. Now they closed the trap. The Empire was surrounded. General Ralkesh whispered, "We never invaded a planet, Vorath. We walked into a cage." His words cut deeper than any blade. The Admiral's eyes widened as the truth settled in. Earth had not been a prey, it had been bait, a lure for the greedy, the arrogant, the invaders who thought themselves untouchable, and now the jaws of the trap had snapped shut. In the silence of space, as explosions tore across the void, One final message spread through the Empire's network. It was not a human message, not even a warning. It was history repeating itself. The message said, "Here empires end." And for the first time in 1,000 years, the Galactic Empire knew fear. Not from another empire, not from a rebellion, but from a single blue world that had waited too long, a world that was done hiding, a world that was ready to fight. The void above Earth was no longer a battlefield. It was a graveyard. Shattered ships drifted like broken bones, their fires burning against the stars. The mighty fleet of the Galactic Empire, once feared across the galaxy, now looked like prey caught in a hunter's snare. Admiral Vorath paced on his flagship, his voice breaking as he shouted orders. "Form up, regroup, push back." But his commands fell into chaos. Officers screamed across the comms, their voices filled with terror. "They are everywhere. Our shields do nothing. Entire wings are gone." The Empire had never known defeat, and now it tasted despair. General Ralkesh stood silent, his eyes locked on the burning wreckage outside. He had warned them. He had begged them to listen. Now his words echoed like prophecy. "Earth is not weak. Earth is waiting," he whispered to himself, and still the destruction rained down. Human warships moved like shadows, their weapons glowing with cold light. They struck from impossible angles, their presence unseen until the moment of attack. The Empire's sensors could not track them. The Empire's defenses could not stop them. It was as if Earth commanded the darkness itself. Then, something greater stirred. Across Earth's surface, vast rings of light appeared. They stretched over mountains, oceans, and deserts, glowing brighter with each passing second. The energy climbed into the skies, wrapping around the planet like a shield. It was not only defense, it was something more. The very atmosphere shifted, bending space around it, and then the first wave of Imperial ships screamed as they were pulled back, not by gravity, not by force, but by something unseen. Earth itself was dragging them into its trap. "Impossible," Vorath roared, his claws digging into the metal floor. "Planets do not move, planets do not fight." But Earth was moving. The oceans roared louder, mountains trembled, storms cracked the skies with fire, and the titans below raised their weapons toward the stars again. The panic spread through the Empire's ranks. Some soldiers broke formation and fled, their ships turning away from the battle. But as they tried to escape, they found no exit. Human ships blocked every path, cloaked and waiting. The hunters had caged themselves. Messages flooded the Emperor's throne back on the capital world. Reports of fleets destroyed, of commanders lost. The Emperor's advisors begged for retreat, but the Emperor's pride was stronger than reason. "No world can defy us. No humans can defeat us," he thundered. His words were broadcast to the fleet, but they fell on broken spirits. On the flagship, Ralkesh turned to Vorath, his voice sharp. "Listen to me, Admiral. We must retreat now. This is not war, it is execution." But Vorath shook his head, madness in his eyes. "No, I will not return in shame. Better to die than admire, to defeat, to primitives." His pride chained him, even as the Empire bled, and then the worst happened. A colossal beam rose from Earth, brighter than a sun. It cut through the flagship of the Eastern Fleet in a single strike. Tens of thousands of soldiers vanished in light, their screams silenced before they began. The shockwave tore through nearby ships, scattering them like ash. Every soldier watching knew the truth then. This was no primitive world. This was no simple planet. This was a fortress carved by time, a trap set for those too arrogant to see, and the Empire had walked into it willingly. General Ralkesh clenched his fists. For the first time in his long life, he felt sorrow, not for victory or defeat, but for arrogance. "We were warned," he whispered. "We destroyed ourselves." Around him, alarms screamed, flames spread, and soldiers panicked. The once proud armada was breaking, and Earth had only begun to fight. The void trembled with fire. The once proud fleet of the Galactic Empire broke apart like glass under a hammer. Everywhere, ships burned, soldiers screamed, and hope turned to dust. But Earth was not finished. The trap had only begun. From the heart of the planet, new lights erupted. Circles of energy spread across continents, glowing like molten scars upon the land. They rose into the sky, connecting like a web of fire that wrapped around the Earth. Space itself bent, as though the world was twisting reality into its design. The Empire's ships slowed, their engines straining, their power vanishing. They were no longer free in the void. They were caught in invisible chains. Admiral Vorath slammed his claws against the control panel. "Engines to full power, break us free," he screamed, but the ship barely moved. The gravity was wrong, the stars bent, every path led back to Earth. General Ralkesh watched silently, his voice low and heavy. "We are not fighting a planet, we are fighting a weapon." His words chilled the officers around him, because deep down, they knew it was true. Human warships closed in, black shadows drifting through the broken remains of the fleet. They did not rush, they did not panic. They moved like hunters circling prey. Every strike was precise, every attack perfect. Alien ships fell in silence, swallowed by the void. The once endless armada shrank with every heartbeat, and then the Titans rose higher. Those colossal machines of Earth climbed above the clouds, their forms glowing with unnatural light. Each one raised a weapon larger than a city. Beams of fire reached into space, cutting through capital ships as if they were made of paper. Vorath's officers begged for retreat. "We must run, Admiral, we must survive." But retreat was impossible. The trap was sealed. Across the fleet, terror spread like wildfire. Soldiers mutinied, captains abandoned formation, some begged for mercy on open channels, but the only reply was the same voice, calm and unshaken. "You were already warned." The words echoed through every ship. No matter how they tried to shut it out, it remained. It filled their ears, their hearts, their very souls. It was not just a message, it was judgment. One by one, the Empire's strongest warships fell, their shields collapsed, their engines died, their hulls cracked open, bodies and debris scattered across the black sea of space. The hunters were nothing more than prey, and the prey had become executioner. General Ralkesh turned to Vorath, his voice like a blade. "Do you see now, Admiral? Do you see what arrogance has cost us?" Vorath's eyes burned with fury and shame. But there was no answer he could give, because outside, his fleet was dying, and no power in the galaxy could stop it. As the trap tightened, something even greater appeared. Above Earth, a colossal structure began to reveal itself. At first it looked like a shadow, a ring hidden in orbit, but as the clouds cleared, its size became climax. Here it was no ship, no station, but an ancient crown of steel that encircled the planet, dormant for centuries, now alive, the final lock of Earth's trap. The Empire had believed Earth was alone, small and weak, but now they saw the truth. It was a fortress world, a weapon world, every inch of it prepared to destroy those who dared invade. There was no escape, no mercy, no hope. The trap had closed, and the jaws of Earth would not open again. The stars around Earth burned with wreckage. The Galactic Empire's fleet was gone, shattered into drifting fragments. Where once there had been thousands of warships, now only silence remained. The trap had closed, and the hunters were no more. Admiral Vorath stood broken on his flagship. His once proud eyes were filled with disbelief. He had commanded victories across 100 worlds, but now he stood helpless before a single planet. "How could this be?" he whispered, his voice empty. General Ralkesh looked at him, his face calm but heavy with truth. "Because pride blinds the strong, and Earth was never weak." The colossal crown above Earth glowed brighter, energy pulsed across its rings, connecting with the Titans below. The planet itself seemed alive, breathing with power older than memory. The last surviving ships of the Empire tried to flee. Their engines roared, their hulls screamed, but space itself bent around them, pulling them back. The sky was no longer theirs. It belonged to Earth. And then came the voice again, not from a single ship, not from a single place. It came from everywhere, from the ground, the oceans, the stars. "You were already warned," it said, calm and final. Vorath fell to his knees, trembling. "Mercy," he begged, "show mercy to us." But the voice did not change. It did not rise in anger. It did not fall in pity. It remained steady, unshaken. "This was your choice." The remaining fleet was torn apart. Beams of fire lanced through the void. Engines died, shields cracked. Soldiers screamed their last cries into silence. The Empire had sent its best, and now its best was gone. General Ralkesh closed his eyes, for he understood now, Earth was not simply defending itself, it was guarding something greater. "This is not conquest," he whispered. "This is a warning to all who come." And in that moment the truth revealed itself, for the Titans and the crown above Earth were not only weapons, they were guardians, guardians of secrets buried deep within the planet, secrets that no empire was meant to touch. The trap had not been made for survival alone, it had been made to protect, to ensure that arrogance never reached what lay hidden. On the surface of Earth, the people looked to the skies. They did not cheer, they did not sing, they stood in silence, watching the fire fade. They had waited for this day. They had endured centuries in shadow, and now the shadow was lifted. As the last of the Empire's fleet fell, a single alien survivor whispered into the void, "Earth is not a planet, Earth is a fortress." The word spread through the galaxy, carried by fear, by awe, by trembling voices. Civilizations listened, rulers shivered, armies hesitated. The truth could not be denied. The Galactic Empire had ignored the warning. It had refused to listen, and now it was broken. Its greatest fleet erased in a single night, its pride shattered forever, and humanity stood revealed. Not weak, not primitive, not prey, but a power unlike any other. The guardians of a secret greater than empires, the keepers of a warning older than memory. In the silence of the aftermath, the voice returned one last time. The warning was never a lie, it said. It was a promise. And with those words the galaxy understood, Earth was not to be conquered, Earth was not to be tested, Earth was the end of arrogance, the place where empires died, the trap that no hunter could escape.